Hi everyone, good morning. Thank you so much for joining me today for the Practice Manager webinars. Today we are going to cover Xero. So what I'll do is I will just wait a couple of minutes just to let the numbers creep up a little bit more and then we will get started. Okay, I can see the numbers going up a little bit, so we'll just get started. So firstly, my name is Kelsey Ross and I am Assistant Manager here at Forbes Mazars. So what I'm going to be covering today is just your Xero back to basics. Now, disclaimer, I should be joined by Lee Simonette from our Manchester office. However, as usual with these kind of things, we have some IT issues as his laptop unfortunately packed in the other day. So it's just me today. So what I'm going to cover firstly is just to do with your banks. And what we'll run through is the bank feeds, your reconciliations, bank rules, how to delete transactions, etc. And then I'll also then show you how to do petty cash transactions. Once we've done this, I'll show you a couple of reports that you can run once you've got all your items within Xero and they're all reconciled. Then from here, we'll then move on to your invoicing section and then your bills to pay section. And hopefully that will then just take us maybe just shy of an hour, which will then give you some time back towards the end of the webinar. Now, as I am by myself today, we won't be doing Q&A live. However, if you do have any questions, please do just pop them in the Q&A box and then we will get back to you after the webinar because we get a list of all the questions asked. So if there is anything that I've not covered, we will then get back to you after the webinar. So let's get started. So what we have here is the Xero dashboard, and essentially this is just your home page of Xero, and it's the first thing you see when you log in. So what we've got here is I've got a couple of different bank accounts, my accounts watch list, which again, I will go into more detail later on, your invoices owed to you section, and your bills to pay section. So the first thing with Xero that I'm going to cover is your bank feeds. So what bank feeds are, is this allows you to link your online bank account to Xero. So it gets rid of your manual entries. Then means it's taking less time to do your monthly bookkeeping because all those transactions are pulling through automatically, then saves on any transposition errors, etc. Because like I say, that transactions within your bank are coming straight to your Xero. So the bank feeds are compatible with the majority of UK banks, and there is an extensive list on Xero's website of all the banks that are compatible with the online bank feeds. And on that website, there's also any known issues. So for example, if you are banking with RBS or Bank of Scotland or Virgin, Santander, etc., if they are doing any works in the background or if the system is down, you can go onto their Xero website and it will tell you if there is any known issues. So to get your bank feeds, you would just click here where it says get bank feeds. And then from here, it's basically just a step-by-step instruction. So what you would do is you would just log into your online banking. From here, as I say, it's just a step-by-step instruction and Xero will give you each step. So from here, you would just select which bank you're wanting to link to Xero and then when you'd want the bank feeds to start from. Once these are then set up, your transactions then flow through automatically. So anything that you pay today or get paid today would show in your Xero tomorrow. So, and then once they've all pulled through, they sit here within your Reconcile tab, as we've got here. So as you'll see here, if I opened up my online banking, then I would then see the exact same transaction pull through. Now, what we've got here is we've got a couple of transactions that are giving me previously suggested entries. So because I've used Xero before, it's picking up where I've coded things before. So it's seen that I've got Medisave here, and previously I had coded this as Medisave and then coded it to medical supplies. So again, Xero is just going to start saving you a little bit of time with these kind of things. What I do want to mention is if I scroll to the bottom here, I have this box tick that says suggest previous entries. So if I was to untick this, oh, then these previous entries disappear. So always make sure you have this box ticked, and then it just makes your life that little bit easier. So from here, again, as I say, if it wasn't a previous entry one, like we've got here for this drawings for Dr. A, in here you would just type who you're wanting to reconcile this to. So I'm going to put this to Dr. A drawings. And then the what is where you're wanting to code it within Xero. So this is all to do with your chart of accounts, which again, I will touch upon later on. So all you need to do is start typing in what code you're wanting to code this to. So I'm just wanting to put this to Dr. A drawings, and then you've then got a Y. So if it's something a little bit out of the ordinary, I can then put in a little description here so I know why I've spent that money. If it's something that's just like a normal monthly payment, then you can just leave that blank. From here, I would then just press OK, and then that's that reconciled. I'm then going to scroll back to the top here. So for this one, for the Medisave, as I say, it's a previously just suggested entry, but what I am wanting to do is I'm going to add an invoice to it. So there's a couple of ways you can do this. So if you just click here where it says add details, and then from here, you can either drag and drop in, so you can find something from your own system, drag and drop the file in, and then it will then save. Or you go to where this little bit of paper is, click, and you can either add from file library, which is just a file saving center within Xero, or just upload from your files that you've got on your system. So if I say add from files, this is then files I've got on my laptop. And then from here, I'm just going to add in an invoice. And then I can then preview said invoice. And then that then pops up. Then I'm just going to save the transaction and then reconcile. Okay. The next one I'm just going to touch upon here is your staff salaries. So for the sake of this demonstration, the staff salaries are paid in bulk. However, if I then want to break them down further, all I would then need to do is again click to where it says add details, and then I can then break down this £22,848. And to do this, I could then just do it. I'm not going to do it by each individual employee, but I'll maybe do admin salaries, my nurses' salaries, salary GP salaries, etc. So again, you would just type in here where it says descriptions, nursing salaries. First thing I would do, then the unit price for my admin salaries I would then change. So I could change this to £10,000. I'm happy that it's going to staff salaries. Then I've then got my nurse salaries, and then again, you would then just put in your total for your nursing salaries. So say this was £8,000. Again, search for the code you're looking for, put to nurse salaries, and then if you've then got a salaried GP, and then you would then again just pop in where you're wanting to put this to. And then again, the amount. So, and then from here, once you had reconciled the total here to the total here, which means it's out by 1,183. So again, if I just put this to salaried retainer, quantity is 1. And the reason the quantity is 1 is your quantity times your unit price to give you the total amount. So if I change this to 2, it then does 2 times £10,000, and then the total amount here would then become £20,000. So just always keep your quantity as 1. So 93, I believe that was the figure. Yep. And again, you would just code this to where this should be coded. Save your transaction. Now they then both go green because they match the total here. And then I can then reconcile this. The next one I'm wanting to touch upon is your monthly health board income. So there's a couple of different ways you can do this. So what you can do is you can either just code it all as the one code. You can do your breakdown here, again, by adding lines, and Xero will remember what you've previously put before. However, they will just stay as £0. So the total amount will go to your top part, and the rest would be 0. And then you then just need to break them down per your monthly health board statement. You can also do what's called a repeating invoice, which again, I'll touch upon when we go to the invoice section. Or what you can do is if you go along to your accounts transactions, then find your last health board income, which I've got here. I'm going to click into it. And then from here, I'm just going to copy it. Then I would then just change my date. So this one was for April, I believe. So 25. Again, your reference, you can put that as April 25. And then the difference with copying it rather than adding lines is it keeps your transactions amount. So there'll be things within your statement that will stay almost the same each month, things like your employees and employers superannuation for the partners, assuming there hasn't been any uplift for a new EPP that's been submitted, etc. So again, this is just a different way of how you can do this. So, and again, all you would do is you would just have your health board statement, and then you would just copy down that. So, and again, if you're doing something within this month that wasn't, sorry, if there was something in last month that wasn't in this month, you can just zero that out, and then that then gets rid of it. Or again, if there was something that wasn't in last month that is in this month, add a line, and then you can then just pop it down here. From here, you can then just move it around as well, so it looks exactly like your statement. What I would say if you are doing this is just to remember that any deductions on your health board statement should go in as a negative, and the same with any clawbacks. So if maybe you had flu income last month, but then £500 or something was then clawed back in the current month, then again, this just goes in as a negative. What you can do within here as well is if you have more than one income, for one source of income, if there's more than one payment for it, what you can do is you can just add or take away. So if you had, say, £500 of income, you then had £20 clawed back, and then another £75 payment, you can just put it all within that one box, and then it does the adding up there rather than doing each individual line. And then once you were happy with that, you would just save that, and then you would then reconcile it to your tab with your income through your reconciliation tab. So I'm just going to come off that just now. So go back into my reconcile tab. And then what I'll do is I will show you how to do a bank rule. So again, a bank rule is just something you would do within Xero if it's something like a monthly direct debit, or maybe even something that's a little bit out of the ordinary that you're always kind of thinking, oh, I'm not sure how I code this, etc. To add a bank rule, you just go options, create bank rule, and then this opens up this screen here. And then you've got a different conditions for the following steps. So I'm going to say that I want it to apply to all of the following conditions. Description is the field. Your condition is then automatically goes to equals. However, I like to change this to contains, and then your value is just your description that's come through from your bank statement. The reason I change this to contains is because often on your bank statement, there are random numbers at the end of your description. Now, if these numbers changed and I have this as equals, then it won't pick up this bank rule because it doesn't equal TowerGate 936840. So if I change this to contains and just keep the TowerGate in, take the numbers away, it will then pick up the rule. Within my contact, I'm going to change this to TowerGate Insurance. And then my description, I'm going to put in this box here, and I can then just say insurance. My account, again, and here I'm just going to look for insurance. And then if you're a non-BAT registered company, practice, sorry, you just keep this here and then press save. And then what this means is anytime Xero now sees TowerGate coming through my bank, it's automatically going to apply this rule here. So then I don't really need to think about it, and all I need to do is press OK, and then that reconciles that transaction. So what I do also want to touch upon within the bank is there's been a few instances where there has been a couple of issues with the bank where transactions have maybe pulled through twice. Now, it doesn't mean that you have physically paid them twice. It's maybe just been a slight glitch within the system. Often, if there's been an update at your bank, Xero's maybe not registered that it's already pulled through, so they'll try and pull it through again. If this does happen, very easy to just delete the double entries. So you would just need to find which ones you were looking for. So if it was these ones here, you would just click in these little boxes, and then you would then just say remove and redo. You would then go back to your reconcile tab. Now there's a couple of different ways you can do this, I should say. This would then come back here, and then from here you can then go options and delete statement line. Or you can go just to your bank statement tab, delete them out straight away. Again, just click which ones are the duplicates and then delete. Or if you'd already reconciled them, again, select which ones you're looking for. So I'm just seeing which I've reconciled. These ones here. I then delete them. But then I need to go to my accounts transactions tab. And then what I'm then going to do is I'm going to sort this by status. And then it will show me the unreconciled items within this accounts transactions. And then I'm then just wanting to remove and redo them. And that then gets rid of them from my Xero. Now, if you did delete something and thought, oh God, that was not a duplicate at all you do is you just click these little boxes and then restore them. So anything that is deleted out can be brought back in. It's not a problem at all. Okay. So now I'll just touch upon the petty cash. So what we've got here is our petty cash count. Again, there's two different ways in which you can input your petty cash transactions into Xero. So the first one is just by manual entry. And to do this, you just click here where it says new transaction. Now, this is the part you need to be a little bit careful of, is between new spend money and new received money. So obviously if it's money coming into your petty cash, it should be receive. If it's money being spent, it should be spend money. So in here, your two is just what you've spent the money on. So if I just say it was for the post office, date is just the date that you've spent the money. And again, reference you don't need to put a reference. It's quite self-explanatory that the money was for the post office. Your description within here, you can say what you spent it on. So I could say stamps. Again, your quantity keep is 1, and then your unit price is how much you'd spent. So say it was £19. And then your account, you would then just search for what you were looking for. I'm going to put postage and stationery and then press save. Now this will then show here. However, it doesn't reconcile. So you would need to click into that transaction, say options, and then mark as reconcile. And then just click this box here. Now, that is a little bit long-winded in my opinion. So what I would actually say to do is have your petty cash on a CSV file on the system. It still means then that your admin staff can keep your petty cash up to date and then import that CSV into Xero. And to do this, up here where it says manage account, and it says import a statement. So what Xero will do is it will give you a CSV template, so you can download this, open it up. And then what I would do is I would then just keep this CSV running, and then you would just have your date, your amount, your PE, which you could hide, to be honest. Oh, I need to enable editing. And then your description, and again, you can just hide the last 2 columns as well. So your date, again, self-explanatory, so you just put in today's date or the date that you had the transaction for. Your amount, so if it's an expenditure, it goes in as a negative, and if it's money received, it goes in as a positive. Your description, again, is just what you spent the money on or how you've received the money. Once you've got that, you then save that down. So I've got one that I did earlier. So I'm going to select file, or again, drag and drop it in. And then I'm just going to press next. Now Xero's picked up that from the template I used, it had my date column, my description column, and my amount column. I'm then just going to complete my import. And then it'll then, I've obviously done this a few times now, so it'll then show down here as well. So all I then need to do is reconcile this the same way as how I reconcile my normal online BankBeats bank. So again, just typing in what this was. So again, cleaning supplies, and then your what, again, type for your cleaning code, which I don't actually have at the moment, and then you would then just reconcile that. I've then got income that was paid into the practice. It was paying off an invoice that was previously prepared. So again, if you have that, I would then just put in your invoice number that is in Xero, so then it's easy enough to match off. And then when it's ready to be matched off, it goes green. And I could just do that. Okay, so once we've got all our transactions reconciled, there are a few different reports that we can run. So to get to your reports, along the top here where it says reporting, and then I've got a couple of favorited reports which I would recommend you do. It's just easy to then find the reports that you're looking for. Then go into all reports. And again, all your favorites are at the top here. However, there is an extensive list of reports that you can run within Xero, and to favorite any of them, you just click this little star and then it shows up here. And again, untick the star to get rid of it. So the first report that I'm going to show you is the accounts transactions report. What this is it'll show you where things have been coded within Xero. So you can search your accounts. So if you're wanting to select all of the accounts or just for certain accounts, it's completely up to yourself. So if I'm going to select them all, I'm then going to untick my banks. just because you're then going to see the same items twice. You can then select your date range. So if you want it for this quarter, financial year, last financial year, etc. So I'm going to go this financial year, update. And then within here, I can then see what's been coded in each code. So I've got bank charges, my heating light, my insurance, etc. So I'm happy that things have been coded correctly. If, however, when I ran this report and thought, oh, there's things in here that I've not coded correctly, and there's quite a few in the one code, you can do what's called a find and recode. And basically what that means is you can bulk recode within a coding structure essentially. So to find this, you go to accounting and then down to here where it says find and recode. So we can see I've got a couple down here. Click here where it says find and recode. And then again, add a couple of different conditions. So you would pick which account you want to recode from. So I'm going to say I want to recode from my postage and stationery code. And then want to search that code. And then it will then pull up whatever is being coded in this code. Or you can change the date range as well. So if I say, right, I only want it from between the 1st of April 25 to now, I can search it. And then if I say, actually, these ones are not being coded correctly, just click recode. Contact I don't want to change, but I want to change my account. And then from here, I can then just say, this should be going to telephone instead. Review and then confirm. And then what that means is that's then recoded all of these transactions within postage and stationery, and it's now coded them to my telephone code, which I feel is more appropriate for these to go to. So if you're happy with that, then you can then rerun your accounts transactions codes and then see if you're happy with that. The next couple of reports I'm going to show you, again, go back to my reporting, all reports, is we have the profit and loss, which should actually be favorited. So here. So again, just click into your report. And then again, you can change the date range. So if you want it again for a quarter, a month, financial year, last quarter, etc. I'm going to keep it as this financial year, but then I'm going to compare it with the previous financial year and then update. So obviously I've not reconciled a lot for this financial year compared to the previous one, but then I can then see how things are looking year to date or quarter to quarter, and then just compare it, then just makes me be aware ahead of the account year end how things are looking. What I do want to highlight in relation to the profit and loss is it is only income and expenses codes that are shown here. So things like partner drawings, etc., won't show within your profit and loss. However, these can be seen within your cash summary report. Now, the reason they're not shown within the profit and loss is because the partner drawings are classed as equity rather than an expense. However, if I run my cash summary report, again, if I can change my date to this financial year, again, you can compare it with an average or a year, etc., and update. It will then show me everything here. Again, I do also just want to highlight that it's only items that have been reconciled. So if you've not reconciled for 3 or 4 months, it won't show you those unreconciled items. It will only show you what has physically been reconciled. And again, it will then show you here how things are looking, if things are up or down compared to the previous year. Okay. And then the other report that I would show is this aged receivables or aged payables report. And again, that then just shows you outstanding income or expenditure as at that date, or again at a quarter, month end, year end, etc. And then what this then highlights is if you've ran this and I've got invoices here that are more than 3 months old, are those likely going to be paid, or should I just be writing them off by now? Do I keep chasing them, or like have they been paid and I've just not marked them up as being paid, etc. So again, this is a good one just to keep an eye on. Just there's no point in keeping carrying these invoices if you know that you're never going to get paid for them. And then I'll go back to my dashboard. Then I've then got here what's called an accounts watch list. Now, this is something that I do find really helpful within Xero. So again, it's just here. So if you've ever had your accounts meeting and you've thought, oh God, postage stationery just seems to be going up year on year, like I need to keep an eye on this, then I would add this to your homepage. It just means as soon as you log in, it's the first thing that you see. So then you can see if that expenditure is creeping up again or if you've managed to bring it down. So it'll show you for if you've created a budget within Xero, it'll show you here. It'll then show you your month total and then it'll show you your year-to-date total. Now to add these to your dashboard, you go to accounting and down to chart of accounts. And then you would then select which code you're wanting to highlight. So again, if it was maybe your telephone costs, you could search for that, click here where it says telephone, and then where it says show on dashboard watch list. Press save, and go back here. And then that will then show you here as well. So I can then see, again, like I say, comparing with my budget, with the month, and then the year to date. So again, just something that I do find quite helpful if you are trying to keep an eye on certain expenditure. I know that obviously the cost of living and things are just more expensive these days, but if something can be helped, then it's a good way to keep an eye. With regards to your chart of accounts, again, if we just go back in here. So within Xero, the chart of accounts that originally comes with the Xero package is for companies. It's not made for medical practices. So having your chart of accounts correct is really important just to make sure that you're coding things correctly and it's easier for you as well. Now, we worked with Xero to get an extensive chart of accounts set. This is actually an old set that I've got here. But if you are needing help with your chart of accounts, then please let us know. We'd be happy to help with that. To add in any new codes, etc., this is how you do it here. Or to add in a new bank account, again, click here. So to add a code, you just click Add Code. Your account type depends on if it's income or expenditure. So I'm going to say it's income, goes to revenue, or expenditure, goes to expense. Your code, you would just find the next available code. So I'm just going to try 7. That's available. If it wasn't available, I'd get this little red to say it's not available. So 7, my name, I'm then going to say this is for cleaning supplies. And then I can then, if I want to add a further description, but to me it's quite self-explanatory. If I want, I can then add that to my dashboard as well, and save. So then my code's been added, and then also on my dashboard. So I've got here. Okay. So I'll then just show you the invoicing section. So again, to create an invoice, click here where it says new sales invoice. And then it opens up this box here. So your contact, you would just say who the contact was. So if it was Legal and General, for instance, again, I've previously done this before. Issue date is just the date of the invoice. However, if it was from yesterday, you can just click into where the date is and pick your date. Your due date, click into the box. You can say in 7 days, in 14 days, first of next month, 20th of next month, etc. Or if you want to go plus 21, take me 21 days from today. That's your due date. You've then got your invoice number, which is automatically generated by Xero, and this will just go up by 1 each time you create an invoice. Then you've got your reference. So again, this just depends on practice to practice. So if it's initial, date of birth, NHS numbers, etc., that's what you pop in here. So I'm just going to say test November 25. We've then got branding. So if you've maybe got different people that send invoices, or if you've maybe got to like an off branch of your practice, you can have different branding. So you've got practice A, practice B. You can then change your branding to say this one's for practice A or for practice B. You've then what's got called here an item. So what the item is you can basically create an item within Xero. So these are ones that I've previously prepared. So I'm just going to click into this one here that says medical report. So what this means is once you create an item, it then means that you're not needing to put in all the same details. So if you know that your medical report is always £100, it always goes to this code, and you want then the description to be basically the same each time. So it just keeps everything in uniform. So all you would then maybe need to change is practice name, patient name, or initials, date of birth, etc. That's all you need to change. And then it just means that all your invoices are looking the same rather than people just going off script, just typing their own narrative. And to add that, you just click here, create new item, then code. So if I just want to call this report, again, report. And then it's a sales report. So again, you would just put in your price. So if it was for £75, your sales account. So we'd always put this to insurance exams because that's how it goes within our accounts. And then again, if you're a non-VAT registered practice, have no VAT. And then your description, you could just say report for Mr. / Mrs. X. So then all you know is you just have to delete as appropriate, add name as appropriate, and then save. So again, each time I click on report, it's going to be this £75 report, and then that's what the narrative is going to be. Once I'm happy with that, all I need to do is scroll up. And then I can either approve an email. So if you've got an email address for who you're sending it to, you would just email it straight from Xero. So if I click here, and then Xero has an automated general email that goes out. So obviously you can change the template email. And then here is just what the invoice actually looks like here. So if you've got a practice logo, etc., we can add that to the invoice. Once I was happy, I would then just send it to an email address and then send the email. And then once that's said, it will then show within my invoices section as awaiting payment. Now, what we've then got is we've got some repeating invoices. So what this is for things like your health board statement. So again, if you want to do your health board statement this way rather than the copy and paste bit or add details. What I do want to highlight is if you have admin staff that are creating invoices, they would also be able to see your health board statement income. So hopefully you are aware that within Xero there are different levels of access. So you've got your invoice only access, your full access, and your read only access. So if you have staff within the practice that do have invoice only access to create those invoices that I've just shown you, they would also see this health board income. So it is just something to be aware of. So to create a repeating invoice, just click here where it says no repeating invoice. And then again, you would just do this almost the same way as what we've done in the add details part, but there's just a couple of different points here. So we want to repeat each month, your invoice date. So again, we change that to the end of the month when you get paid. And then your due, again, it'd be the same. And then your end date, you would just keep going on out, keep going on as obviously they don't end. Your invoice too, so again, just put who you're wanting to put here, NSS, NHS England, NHS Lothian, etc. Reference, again, you can then change this each month. So I would have it, if I was doing it for just now, it'd be November 25, and then the next time I'll just change it to December 25, January 26, etc. And again, once I've got my health board statement, I would just put in the description, so your global sum, your temporary patients, influenza, anticoagulation, etc. And then your deductions like your levies, your superannuations. Again, remembering to put in those as minuses because they are deductions from the income statement. So you would do all that and then save. So I'll just show you a previously entered one. So we've then got this. So this is then what gets repeated each month. And what they do is it then sit within the draft section. And then all you would then need to do is obviously if your global sum money had changed, you would just say how much it was changed to. So if it went up, change that here. Again, if there was no childhood immunisations that month, zero that out, etc. Add a new line. And then that would then be your health board income for that month. Once you are happy, just press save. And then that would then be saved. Okay? So next part is regarding bills. So again, very similar to the invoice section, you can do a new bill. So again, you can just create this the same way as you created your invoice, but in here from is who your bill was from. So if I just say it was for Williams Medical, again, the date when you received it, and then per the invoice that you've received, what the due date is. So again, if it's 30 days from that, it will then take me 30 days. Again, your reference, you can pop that in or not. And then from here, you can then pop in your description of what you've bought from Williams Medical, or to be honest, just add in your invoice here, which again, add from file libraries, upload from files, or just drag and drop in. You can also email bills straight in to Xero. And to do this, you go to all, and where it says new bill, if you click here, and then all you then do is you would copy and paste this email address, and then any bills that had been emailed to you, you can then basically email them straight into here. Once they have been emailed, again, they just sit within your draft. And then you would then just need to sense check them essentially. So Xero will try and pick up all the important information like the date, the amount, the company name, etc. But obviously just make sure that you're sense checking that. Also, one thing to be aware of as well is if on the invoice there is any VAT picked up. If you're a non-VAT registered practice, you want to change that so that there's no VAT shown and then the total amount is actually the net amount plus the actual amount that's been paid. So that the VAT's not being treated separately. Obviously, if you're a VAT registered practice, then that's not a problem. And then again, within here, you've then got all your bills that are waiting to be paid. And then from what I've said, I have mentioned the file library a few times. So to access this, along the top where this would have your practice name, click here. and then you go Files. And then from here, I've then got my file library. And then again, from here, you can email straight into your Xero. Again, just by this long, silly email address here. So I would just add that to your favorites, email them straight in, and it just means things like your health board statement, etc. Email it straight in to your Xero, and it just means at the year end when your accountant's asking for, could you send me this? Can you send me that? You can just say, look, it's all within Xero. My Xero's up to date, and then everything's all good to go. And just final points really with regarding Xero. Um, Obviously it is cloud-based, so you're not restricted to working on a certain laptop or desktop, etc. You can work from home and get everything up and running. Um, so yeah, I hope that has been useful. Like I say, if there is any questions, please do just pop them in the Q&A box and we will get back to you um, at a later date. And then if not, thank you so much for joining and I hope you have a really, really nice rest of your day and a lovely Christmas. Thank you so much.